Hello everyone, Michael the Librarian of Magic here, finding and cataloging the magical and pointing you to it. Today is the 16th of October. Checking my calendar as always. Another Halloween treat, another Halloween drawing for you today. The same disclaimers as always apply. They're in the first video of this series, as I usually point out. With that out of the way, today's villain, Claude Frollo, from 1996's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And this was a drawing that came out pretty well. He just had a nice expression. This is a still from the film. And I was able to, replicate some of the things. I'm pretty happy with it. It's not perfect, but I think it came out pretty good. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame, is a movie that I think has eventually found its audience in time. Since it came out, but I think for a lot of people probably warrants a revisit or a rewatch, because I think it was jarringly different than what Disney was producing at the time that it came out. I think trying to adapt Victor Hugo novel is a really big swing for Disney. And I think they mostly pulled it off. I think, I applaud them for taking a big chance on it. And I think they did a pretty good job with it, considering the source material is very complex and very, adult themed and not very easy to quote Disneyfy. And they really actually were pretty successful with it because I think they resisted the urge to Disneyfy it. In many ways, this character here, Claude Frollo, is a more terrible individual than he actually is in Hugo's original novel. He's incredibly dark and incredibly complex. From what I could gather, the animating teams that brought him to life were intentionally trying to avoid the evil is cool trope that happens with a lot of Disney villains, where they're generally nefarious and evil, but they're also kind of fun. They have a personality that's sort of attractive and fun, which is sort of the essence of this entire drawing series, to be honest, is that these villains, many of them, are really fun. This particular villain is anything but that. They really did try to go all in on making him just awful and evil in real complex human ways. He's a more fully drawn character, partially because of the Hugo material that they based it on, but also partially because they really went for adapting it in that way. He he has a desire to sort of wipe out these people called the Romani, which are sort of like gypsies. And there are complex themes in the story, not just the novel, but the Disney version. There are complex themes of religion and lust and genocide, of wiping out these people. He's incredibly complicated. He is one of those villains that believes that his actions are right and justified, that what he's doing is the right thing. He's not just generally nefarious. He's not just randomly evil. He believes that not only that he's right, but that what he's doing is the will of God. So much so that he believes that even the archdeacons are fools, that he has got these things figured out more than the religious leaders of his area. In the novel, Claude Frollo actually is the archdeacon of Notre Dame. In the film, he's a Parisian justice minister. But his role is essentially the same, that he believes he's got all this stuff figured out, and he's trying to persecute all these people, and so on. But he, through the course of the movie, ends up committing all of these crimes, not limited to bribery, arson, both attempted and actual murder, torture, assault. He's bad. He... in the end of the film, it admits to murdering Quasimodo's mother for trying to save her own child, and then begrudgingly takes in Quasimodo, sort of self-repenting for his own sin of dispatching the mother. In the novel, he's actually a little bit more compassionate at that, quite a bit, to be honest. He willingly takes in Quasimodo. He willingly adopts him, and he's not so much of a bad guy for good chunks of the novel. It's not until Esmeralda comes on the scene in the book that Frollo kind of makes a turn, because he gives in to his lust for Esmeralda, and that makes him a conflicted and flawed character. In the movie, the Disney movie, he's pretty much shown to be awful before Esmeralda even comes on the scene. He's got all kinds of ideas and issues that he's, working with. So he's pretty awful. There's kind of no really way around that. Another or minor difference, or I don't know what you want to say, between the novel and the film that I found out about is Quasimodo actually is deaf in the novel, and Frollo teaches Quasimodo how to communicate with sign language. In the film, Quasimodo is not deaf, but Frollo teaches him how to read. That's sort of the same, or the difference that bears a similarity. He is voiced in the film by Tony Jay. Tony Jay is one of these sort of recognizable baritone British Royal Shakespeare actors. He came into the Disney sphere. He voiced the very small but very memorable and impactful role of Monsieur Dark in Beauty and the Beast. He's the guy who runs the asylum in Beauty and the Beast, which is just sort of a really cool, drawn, scenery-chewing minor villain in Beauty and the Beast. But he did that voice very convincingly, and then eventually did this, which was such a meaty role to take on. And he had said before he passed away in 2006 that this was one of the best, if not the best, role that he ever took on in his life, because it was so complex. He also ended up voicing a lot of Disney afternoon stuff back in the 90s. He was the voice of Shere Khan on Tailspin. He narrated Treasure Planet. He narrated Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind for Studio Ghibli. And he voiced a lot of different random characters whenever a baritone voice was needed in a lot of those Disney afternoon shows, like Gargoyles and stuff like that. He would pop up on those from time to time. So he kind of ended up being in the Disney Rolodex. Do people remember what Rolodex is? The Disney contact list at the time. And he was called upon for a bunch of stuff. But he did a great job with this. He was a really good choice, helping to embody just the nastiness and complexity of Frollo here. So like I said, I really applaud Disney for taking a big chance with The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's not a perfect movie. It has its flaws. But I think that it's found its audience, and it probably requires a rewatch from a lot of us, myself included, because I think it just was so different when it came out, and it just wasn't what we were expecting. Claude Frollo can be seen as a walk-around meet and greet character sometimes in Disney parks around the world, particularly in France, but sometimes in the U.S. as well. But he's pretty rare, as you would expect. He's extremely rare, in fact. But it is possible, even though they were trying to avoid the evil is cool trope with Claude Frollo by making him particularly nasty, he did become a relatively popular character anyways, and I think that has to do with the fact that he's just so well-defined and compelling to watch. So, anyway, Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Did you enjoy the drawing? Is The Hunchback of Notre Dame one of your favorite Disney films, even though a lot of people tend to gloss over that one? Or maybe it's just one of your favorite novels, the Victor Hugo novel. Let me know down below if you have any thoughts or opinions about that, or thoughts about the character. Thanks as always for following these and liking and commenting and subscribing. Thanks for joining me this whole month of October with all these Disney villains and Halloween treats. Come back tomorrow and I'll have another one for you. And until then, take care. Bye-bye.